Welcome to another episode of Sanford Says. My name is Lisa Holder, Communications Officer for the City of Sanford, and today we have another great topic and wonderful guest. The topic is a resident's guide to a quasi-judicial land use decision process. And with us today is our Assistant City Attorney, Lonnie Groot. Welcome, Lonnie.
Good morning, Lisa. Good morning, everyone.
And so we thought that this would be important to share with our listeners, residents, and those interested in the process of local government because it is clearly important to the process. And so, Lonnie, as the City of Sanford continues to develop and particularly infill, like land use, law becomes just a matter of interest to our citizens of Sanford. And so we invited Lonnie Groot, the Assistant City Attorney, to talk with us today about the very important issue. And this is likely our first podcast on this issue, and it is. So please let us know if you would like to learn more about this after today's podcast. And you could always email me directly at lisa.holder@sanfordfl.gov. That's lisa.holder@sanfordfl.gov. But we truly hope that these informational sessions provide you with information so that you become more aware and engaged and involved as a resident and a citizen of Sanford. So, Lonnie, before we begin, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your legal background?
Sure. I'll get into my legal background, but I sort of got there through being an Air Force brat. I was one of the children of an Air Force family. My father served in World War II and was in Korea actually when I was born. But when he retired in 1964-65, we moved to Tallahassee, and he went to FSU under the GI Bill. And of course, Tallahassee is the state's capital. And so even as a youngster, I was wandering around the Capitol and everything, and seeing the Supreme Court building and all this stuff. And I really figured I'd go to law school. So ultimately, I got my undergraduate degree at FSU in criminology, and then a law school graduated from law school in 1976. And while I was in law school, I worked at the Florida legislature, and then I worked at the Florida legislature afterwards. Then, of all places, moved to Montana and worked at the Montana legislature. And after about a year there, moved back to Tallahassee and worked at the Florida legislature and some state agencies until in 1979, I went into the Army JAG Corps and served at Fort Bragg, North Carolina, Berlin, Germany, and Redstone Arsenal, Alabama.
Well, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you. I know you're a Navy vet, so it's what we're all supposed to do.
Yeah.
So anyway, 1985, I got out of the Army, and we moved to Seminole County, and I took a job in the county attorney's office. Now, 1985 Seminole County and 2021 Seminole County are not only two different places, they're two different worlds. And there was a lot of land use activity. Seminole County was leading the way in comprehensive planning. And so I got a lot of experience working for 15 years at Seminole County. A tremendous amount of experience. Seminole County was a leader, like I said, in planning, and actually I had to appear in front of the City of Sanford City Commission several times, but mostly it was to threaten to sue the city on behalf of the county on annexation issues.
Right. Now, Lonnie, can we back up just for a moment there, because you talk about complex. I mean, we're rolling all over through this information, so not everybody knows what that means. But this is the beginnings of
Seminole County in the 1970s went to the Florida legislature when planning of communities was just being thought of. And Seminole County went to the legislature and said, we want to plan our county. And actually had a special act passed telling Seminole County to plan the county. Another law was passed a year later that applied to the whole state, but it was based upon Seminole County's Planning Act. And so Seminole County divided the county into 4 different areas, 4 quadrants: northwest, northeast, southeast, southwest, and started figuring out how the county wanted those areas to develop, which included over to the Wekiwa, over to the Econ, the I-4 corridor, etc. So Seminole County developed a comprehensive plan, which is a constitution of the county, and every city and county now have one that says how you will plan your community, and then you have to enact zoning regulations, land development regulations is the technical word, to implement that comprehensive plan. So I was steeped in that for 15 years, and then when I left the county, I worked for a law firm in Orlando that did a lot of development work, and then for the past 18 or so years, I've been pretty much with Stenster McIntosh, which has been the city's city attorney for about 40-something years now.
Right. And so land development is key to everything. It is the future, I would imagine, of how a city grows and what can be built. And that's why we're talking about these land use laws and what this means, the quasi-judicial land use process, so that our citizens can be involved in the process. That's why local government, closest to the people.
That's exactly right. In Sanford, not to keep beating the drums too much, but Sanford was a leader and an example again for a statewide act when it committed, by enactment of an ordinance, which the First Amendment Foundation awarded the city First Amendment Citizen of the Year award for it, where it committed to allow citizen participation in every process. And so it's very important for citizens to participate, particularly in land use decisions.
It is. And so really for today's topic particularly, what can citizens do to be involved in these decisions?
Okay, well, the first thing a citizen can do is be educated. And, citizen participation is important. No doubt about that. And the citizens have the right to say whatever they want to say within the confines of law. You can't libel somebody or be profane or anything like that in a public setting. But citizens can say whatever they want to say. So a citizen can come in and say, I don't like something. And that's important. They got to express that they didn't like something. But when it comes into the land use context, just saying I don't like this oftentimes means very little, if anything, in the context of the decision that's being made.
And when you're talking about speaking citizen participation, we mean at a commission meeting, at a public meeting.
That's right.
And so there's citizen participation on the meeting agendas, and this is the opportunity for citizens to voice their opinions. And so that when we're talking about voicing your concerns, it's to the city commissioners, the elected officials.
That's correct.
Who are the ones that make the final decisions.
They make the final decision in most all occasions. The Historic Preservation Board makes decisions which are appealable to the City Commission, and the Planning and Zoning Commission makes some final decisions, but they're appealable to the City Commission too. So in one way or another, everything gets to the City Commission.
Right. So is it enough for a citizen to attend these meetings and say that I don't like it, I like it, I don't like it?
No, absolutely not. If what a citizen needs to do in land use, since let's sort of target land use, is read that comprehensive plan and understand that comprehensive plan. And if they don't like something in it, you can always come to the Planning and Zoning Commission, to the City Commission, and say, I really want this changed in the comprehensive plan. And the comprehensive plan process is legislative. What we're talking about is a 4 or 5 hour course, and we're going to sort of just condense a little bit into about 20 minutes today, so that if the people who are listening to this want to come back and talk about things in more detail, we can.
Right.
But in brief, the comprehensive plan is something that is enacted legislatively, so citizens can grab that commissioner at the grocery store, or at the Little League ballpark, or schedule an appointment with them, or speak to them outside of commission chambers, or they can come to meetings and speak at commission meetings also. But it's a legislative process, and that's how you say how you want the city to be planned in its land use constitution. And like I said, Seminole County, the I-4 corridor is exactly what was planned. The protection of the Econ River was exactly what was planned. The protection of the Wekiva River is almost like it was planned. There was a lot of development challenges out there, a lot of court cases, challenges to the governor and cabinet, but essentially it's what the original plan said. The city is going to grow in accordance with this comprehensive plan. So if citizens want to be involved, that's the key point, to be involved.
Right. And so the comprehensive plan is available on our website. It's not, it doesn't take like 20 minutes probably to read
No,
it. How many pages?
It's about 300 maybe, something like that.
But it's meant to be accessible, yes, and it's on our website, and you may not realize that there is such a document, but this document is something that it's our roadmap, Lonnie?
That's right. Roadmap, land use constitution. It's the controlling document for all zoning decisions. So if the city commission were to make a decision that was inconsistent with the comprehensive plan, it's void.
It's void.
It's potential. If challenged, it can be voided. And there's some very famous cases where apartment complexes were built only to have to be torn down because ultimately a court determined they were inconsistent with the comprehensive plan.
And you share that in our Citizens
I
Academy,
do.
and it's the Scheidel, is it?
Scheidel, Miss Scheidel.
Scheidel in
And that's
South
where
Florida.
a lady who was a paralegal handled her own case all the way through the court system, and she prevailed.
Yeah.
But she was prepared, and you just have to be prepared.
Right.
And you know, there's an upcoming, I didn't mention this to you earlier, Lisa, but there's an upcoming change to the comprehensive plan that was mandated by the Florida legislature. And that's the enactment of a property rights element. And when you ask the original question, why is being involved important to citizens? The state of Florida is a very, very much of a property rights oriented state. And the legislature has taken a lot of steps to take some of the decision making away from local governments and mandate certain decisions be made, or disallow cities and counties from making decisions. And this past session, they said you will enact a property rights element for every comprehensive plan. So that's going to be going before the Planning and Zoning Commission and the City Commission shortly.
Yep. So when you say that, if you could just clarify, so the state government, state legislature, has their hands in what happens locally as it relates to our comp plan, and so
as it relates to city government generally.
And so we talk about home rule. That's a whole nother topic.
Oh, that's a whole nother topic. But
it's
in terms of
relatable.
land use, why can't the city ban fire ranges in certain places? Because the legislature said so. Why can't the city say you can't smoke in a park? Because the legislature said so.
And recently trees, right?
And trees.
Trees
You know,
that
why
are here in our
can't
community.
the city or the county protect trees better? Because the legislature enacted a law that said basically totally restricted cities and counties from protecting trees. So, and the list goes on, and the list will go on in the future too, because that is the current trend of the Florida legislature, is to denigrate, and that's not too strong a word, home rule powers of cities and counties.
Right. And so what we can do locally here, what we're in our city of Sanford, and what our citizens can do locally, is they can be involved in what decisions are made here in our city. And we're talking about this quasi-judicial land use decision. So their voice can still be heard, if you are a citizen, to your local elected officials about decisions that are coming before the city commission. So there's still that process.
That's right. Well, there's still that process, and like I said, once the comp plan provisions are in place, that they control. But when a precise land use decision is being made, let's say for an apartment complex or for a subdivision in a certain area, or a planned development, that's normally the way they come through. Citizens can come in, and if they're affected parties, oppose those developments. Now, the issue that arises in quasi-judicial proceedings is that a decision has to be based on evidence. The courts get more technical than that, but that's the long and the short of it. Decisions have to be based on evidence. And if a denial is made, the denial has to specifically state in writing why that application was denied. Was it inconsistent with the comp plan? Did it violate a land development regulation or whatever? The city commission's obligated, historic preservation board's obligated when they deny, the planning and zoning commission's obligated when they deny to specify why they're denying. Okay?
So you can change it or fix it or go back to
you can, right.
it again.
That's a good point. And but also just to say, so it won't be arbitrary. It won't just be, we're denying it because 99% of the room was against it. 99% of the people who were here tonight is against it. Unfortunately, well, I'll say that from the citizen's perspective, because I believe in property rights balanced with sound regulation. But from a citizen's perspective, coming in and saying, I don't like this development, and that's all they say. They don't do any analysis of why it might violate a comp plan provision, or why it's bad planning, or why the traffic is too much, or why some other element of the decision-making process has been violated. Just saying they don't like something means nothing. It's not evidence. It doesn't say anything except you're against it. And the courts have said zoning is not done by a show of hands.
Or feeling or emotion.
Or feelings, or the technical word is plebiscite. Zoning decisions aren't made that way. They're made based upon what evidence is presented at that quasi-judicial proceeding, which is basically a trial in a much more informal setting. Although sometimes they do get formal, because you can cross-examine and you can do other things. But the citizens just need to come prepared to present evidence and argument, and organization is very important.
Right. So that's some good advice. If you want to present or have the commission hear something, have something to back up have documentation or research to back up your feelings and your your choice before you come to the city commission.
And the Scheidel case, which you pointed out, and I'm proud of your memory, is a perfect example of a citizen can do it. It takes a lot of effort. And if you share that effort with others and you combine your energies and combine your efforts, you can succeed.
Yeah.
I mean, the area around Heathrow, believe it or not, you may look at it now and say, well, that's highly dense and intense and all that. That was planned that way. But if you look at the residential developments and everything out there, it's pretty high quality.
Right.
And that was planned. That was designed that way. But at first, there was a group of people who wanted 1 unit per acre zoning from I-4 west, period. Nothing else.
Yeah.
And that didn't prevail ultimately, but their input made it a high quality area too.
Right. So Lonnie, if there are, say for instance in our scenario here, city commission meeting, if there are citizens that want to band together, come to a commission meeting and under citizen participation share information, could they bring documentation? Would it be read into the record at that point? Or how do you recommend, if we're saying bring documentation, bring support, bring backup, it would be better for your case? What would be the procedure for that? Would they bring it with them?
Well, they can,
or email it ahead of time.
It's easy. It's much more advantageous to provide the evidence earlier, because city staffs can then analyze it and comment upon it. They may disagree with it, but they may agree with it. But I can tell you one thing: when I've handled cases against developers, which I have, representing associations of homeowners or residents in a certain area. I come with lots of documents, an analysis of the comprehensive plan. If I can get the group to fund a planner, at least an affidavit from a planner. When I do petitions, and petitions are great, but petitions don't mean anything in a land use decision if all they say is, we 500, 600, 25,000 people are against it. If the petition says we think the comp plan's been violated, we think that this is too intense, we're having horrible traffic issues, whatever, have the petition have some substance to it. Petitions are great, once again, for legislative action. We want you to put more money in city parks. We want you to give Lisa Holder a raise. We want you to fire the city attorney.
I'm doing thumbs up here.
We want you to lower taxes, raise taxes, whatever. Those petitions are just fine. That's absolutely fine for those purposes. But in a land use case,
totally different.
Totally different. They don't mean anything
Totally
unless
different.
they say something substantially.
Right. So the purpose of the resident guide that the City of Sanford's put together, there's copies in the commission chambers, we have it on our website, is simply to assist residents in understanding how to participate in the quasi-judicial processes within the City of Sanford. And it's a tool for any individual who has no particular expertise in the law concerning the granting of development permits, site plan approvals, special exceptions, variances, and similar types of proceedings for the City Commission, Planning and Zoning Commission, and Historic Preservation Board. So residents who wish to participate in the proceedings before these boards should have a basic understanding of their function, the rules relative how decisions are made, and how to effectively participate in these proceedings, which is really a key.
Yes.
We don't your time is valuable. I'm sure of that.
Absolutely.
So you would like to be effective in your presence, in your communications, and all of the time of your supporters that are coming in, your neighborhood, your fellow neighbors. Be prepared, right?
And let me just make a couple of comments. And this is not to insult any of your or our listeners. If a person attends a land use hearing and hasn't read this 5-page document, they're committing malpractice on themselves. They really should read this document. And let me just shout out, and I don't typically do this because I'm not here to charm elected officials, although I work for them, and I'm glad they ran for office and had the courage to serve and all that. But Mayor Woodruff, the educator he is, took examples from North Miami Beach and Dunedin, Florida, and wrote this document in a way that it's really friendly for the average citizen to read and say, oh, I got it. This is what I need to do.
Yeah,
and that's why I said I just think it's really hurting yourself if you don't read this document before.
Yeah. And this says here, final thoughts that's written in this document: start early and stay in touch with city staff. We're here to support you. Planning staff is available.
Absolutely. Absolutely, but you have to be involved.
Yeah.
An involved citizen is involved.
Right. Right.
And just know what's going on.
Yeah.
Because oftentimes, and I feel, I am as neutral and detached as anybody can be. I mean, I have, if you ask me how I would vote on something, sometimes, you know what, it'd be very difficult for me to ponder how I would actually vote. I just give advice and all that.
Yeah.
But I really do feel sometimes when proponents or opponents of something appear at a commission meeting or another board, and they have good ideas, but they don't present them.
Yeah.
And they're unprepared, or they start, you're a great communicator, I know that. If you've got 10 things that you could point out to somebody, but only 2 of them are really important, if you go through all 10, oftentimes you lose the listener because you're on the things that they know aren't pertinent to the decision-making process.
Right.
So come in focused is what I'm saying.
Right, come in focused. And Lonnie, just to even learn about these land use decisions or these decisions that are going to be made about zoning and new development, that's where I think you have to be involved in general with the business of the commission, because knowing that this is on the agenda or that it's coming forward for decisions, it's important to just stay engaged with the city in general overall. I mean, the commission agendas are put out online all the time, and that way you will be aware of it. If you don't hear it from your neighbor, you personally can view it yourself and understand, read the agenda items, and then prepare, do your Do your due diligence.
Absolutely. Find out who your commissioners are.
That's a great
Find
point.
out who your planning and zoning commissioners are. And if you see one of them in the store, you say, what's going on at P&Z?
Yeah.
You know, and usually staff is very accommodating about if you say, I'd like to be on the email list for agendas of the HPB, Historic Preservation Board. They'll put you on it.
Right.
It's no big deal.
Right.
And so now you're getting the same meeting notice that the media is getting, that other citizens who are involved are getting. So it's easy to get the information. You just have to seek it out.
Right. Right. And so we love citizen engagement. And so if you'd like to participate in this in a quasi-judicial hearing and you need further information about the quasi-judicial process relative to city ordinances and the contents of any applications, contact the City of Sanford Planning and Development Services Department, which their number is 407-688-5140, or email planning@sanfordfl.gov, and this is on our website as well, sanfordfl.gov. But that's just probably the tip of the iceberg, Lonnie.
Oh, it is. There's a lot to teach, and we'll, if the citizens out there are interested, we can do what in components, 20-minute components or such, of the training that we do for the Planning and Zoning Commission and the other boards.
Right.
That talks about, more in detail about what types of things are in comp plans, what types of things are in land development regulations, and the actual process, how a hearing goes, whether it's legislative or quasi-judicial.
Right, and we want you to be involved. This is the whole purpose of this other communications tool for the City of Sanford, is to explain information that could be kind of involved and with meaning and definitions that you don't understand as just as an average citizen. And it's obvious, it's government terminology, and we want you to be engaged. We want you to understand so that you can make informed decisions as yourself, as a concerned citizen, as a resident of the City of Sanford, because we're here for you. We work for you, the residents of our city and the business owners. So, Lonnie, is there any last words that you'd like to say?
No. Well, like I said, we'll do more if there's interest, but I think we've challenged citizens to become involved and shown how important it is to be involved. And if that's what we've succeeded to do today, then that's a good success.
That's wonderful, yes. And we also have a Citizens Academy that should be starting up again in 2022. And Lonnie Groot, our city attorney, provides information relative to this type of scenario during the Citizens Academy, among other things that you can learn about all the departments in the city of Sanford. It's about educating yourself and becoming aware of city government so you, like I said, can make informed decisions as a resident. Thank you for listening. This is Lisa Holder, Communications Officer for the City of Sanford. You can find this podcast wherever you subscribe to your favorite podcast and on the city website at sanfordfl.gov. Thank you for listening and have a great day. Until next time, bye.